Hello everyone. This story is about, what if Naruto and Temari had a political marriage after the failed Suna invasion? Desperate to keep their alliance with Konoha, the Suna council decides to offer Temari's hand in marriage to none other than Naruto, after realizing who he is. Hope you enjoy the story, and as always, please like, share and subscribe for more. Now let's start. Sometimes it really sucked, being a clone. The first part of the job hadn't sounded that bad. Go trade in the old vest for a new vest. Sure, dealing with the armory guys was a pain in the ass, but whatever. It was the second part the clone really had trouble with. Tenten liked pointy and explodey things, and he was fairly sure she wasn't very happy with the boss right now. Arriving at the armory, the clone took his place at the end of the line, kinda curious as to why there was a line in the first place. Shifting so he could take a look, his eyes widened when he saw Guy and Lee excitedly gesturing at the desk clerk and pointing at the cart of items behind them. Some brilliant individual had set some sort of silencing seal on the two green-clad idiots, but knew that wouldn't keep them from being annoying. Sighing, the clone prepared himself for a very long wait before the hair on his neck prickled. Shooting a quick glacé around, he found Niji glaring at him from near the exit. "Oi, Niji," the clone called. "If you're looking for the green guys, they're the ones holding up the line." The clone watched as Niji stalked towards him. He couldn't help feeling nervous because Niji looked really upset about something. "I know that you were the one responsible," Niji flatly stated once he got close enough. "Responsible for what?" the clone replied. "For my utter humiliation yesterday," Niji said with a bit of crimson in his cheeks. "Because of you, I was stripped and left naked in a training field." "What does that have to do with me?" "It was Hinata-sama that did it, a naked Hinata-sama," Niji all but hissed. "Still think this has nothing to do with you?" I'm just a clone?" After Niji stalked off, the Naruto clone was forced to wait another hour before he finally reached the desk. "Hi, I just need to trade this vest in for the next size up," he said with a polite smile at the desk clerk. "You'll need to fill out Form 7D, the clerk said, riffling the folders on his desk and handing over said form. "Thanks," the clone said, grabbing a pen from the cup on the desk. "I'm sorry, but you need to fill that out somewhere else," the clerk said stiffly. "All paperwork is required to be filled out before this point." The clone turned to see the line behind him had already refilled, and he shot the clerk a disbelieving look. "Are you serious?" he asked. "This will take a few minutes tops. I was in line for hours." "The rules are the rules." Next. Grumbling under his breath, the clone moved out of the way and rapidly filled out the required form before reluctantly joining the line again. After another extremely boring hour, Naruto found himself standing at the desk again. "Okay, so form and vest," the clone said, handing them over. "I'm sorry, but all items must be returned in the same condition as issued. This vest appears to have marking on it." "Are you fucking serious?" the clone shouted. "Those are storage seals. Any field ninja would be delighted to have them, you stupid desk ninja." With an irritated expression, the desk clerk pushed his glass firmly against his face as he prepared to wage bureaucratic warfare. "I'm sorry, Uzumaki-san," he said with brittle politeness. "Until those are removed, I have no choice but to refuse this vest." Next. Now utterly furious, the clone snatched the vest and the form from the desk and stomped over to a nearby work table. Over the next 2 hours he carefully removed every modification the boss had made to the vest and even polished it up so the REMF couldn't complain. Finished, he looked up and was relieved to see that there was hardly any line. Hopefully he would be done with this nightmare soon. Slapping the items on the desk, the clone glared at the clerk. "There, completely clean, form filled out. Can I just get the replacement vest and go, please?" he managed to grind out somewhat politely. The clerk picked up the vest and carefully examined it, then took a moment to review the filled out form. "Yes, it seems that everything is in order here." "You said you required another vest?" "Yes, please." The clerk placed the vest down beside him and pulled out a form. Rapidly writing across it, he tore off a section and handed it over before pulling the vest up and handing it over as well. "Your vest and receipt, Uzumaki-san. Have a nice day." "Did you just give me the same vest I turned in?" the clone asked in a slow, calm manner. "Of course," the clerk said. "You requested an exchange and I simply gave you the vest in the best mechanical condition. The rules require it." A burst of killer intent poured from the clone, flattening everyone in the room as its eyes flickered between red and blue. "I said I required a size larger," the clone roared. This is the same vest. Unlike the others in the room, the clerk was fairly accustomed to KI, so rather than being totally incapacitated, he was able to hit the alarm button before he froze up. In response, an ANBU popped up behind the desk and froze when he felt the KI. Looking at the clerk, the form in the clone's hands, and the vest, the ANBU shook his head. You know, he said, crossing his arms and glaring at the clerk through his mask. I've told you, it's a bad idea to piss off the combat shinobi. Why aren't you stopping him? The clerk got out weakly. I'm not a fan of dying a horrid, painful death. You pissed him off, you deal with it. Struggling to move, the clerk slowly dragged out a slightly larger vest and dumped it on the table in front of the still fuming clone. There, take it and go, he croaked. See, was that so hard? The clone said, swapping the vests. Have a nice day, he commented sarcastically. Turning around, he found himself facing an ANBU squad, an apparently annoyed ANBU squad at that. Hi guys, he said, holding his hands and the new vest up above his head in surrender. You should know, I'm just a clone. Naruto sat on the edge of his newly constructed dock. Genin slave labor was awesome, relaxing as the gentle breeze blew through his hair. No one was ever going to accuse him of being a quiet person, but since starting his meditation training, he'd come to enjoy quiet moments like this. Perhaps especially as an escape from the daily pressures he was facing now. Training a Genin squad, even one already mostly trained, was draining. Add in the training from hell the toads ran him through on a daily basis, and a very pregnant, very cranky mood-swinging Temari, and yes, these quiet times were nice. Not for the first time during one of these moments, he evaluated his dream of being Hokage. These sorts of pressures and worse were a certainty for the job, but Naruto found himself even more determined about his goal, if that was even possible. In a way, it had even shifted the reasons for the goal in a more positive direction. Young, naive Naruto wanted to be Hokage so that people would recognize and value him. A slightly more mature Naruto wanted to protect the village. Now, he still wanted to protect the village if necessary, but he wanted more, to be a role model and inspiration. Someone that the younger generations would look up to and strive to be like, similar to how the Sandaime had inspired him. May I join you? He heard, breaking him out of his thoughts. Looking up, he gave Ino a smile and patted the dock next to him cheerfully, ignoring the mild glare he received in return. Sure, have a seat, Ino-chan. Sure, is a very nice dock, isn't it? I still can't believe you made us build it, Ino grumbled, sitting down next to him and getting comfortable by hugging her knees to her chest. It wasn't exactly exam-level training now, was it? Say what you want, Naruto said with a shrug and slight grin. You guys were having trouble working as a squad without Shikamaru giving the orders, so I forced you to do an activity that would require teamwork. Sure, Ino said, rolling her eyes. And the fact that you got a dock on your pond from it was just happy coincidence, right? Absolutely, Ino-chan, Naruto replied with a dazzling smile. He studied her profile for a few moments as Ino stared off over the water. Something on your mind, Ino-chan? You seem a bit off. I don't know, Naruto, Ino said with a sigh. Do you think we'll be ready for the exams? We only have a bit under a month before we have to leave for Suna. Judging from the way you guys trashed Team 8 yesterday, I would have to say yes, Naruto said lightly. Of course, if you really want a challenge, I could suggest a sparring match with Team 9. Ino jerked her head over to stare at him, horror written across her face. You wouldn't do that to us, would you? She asked, her eyes wide and pleading. I'm considering it, Naruto admitted. I'm trying to balance out how much Gai-sensei and Lee disturb me, with how much you guys could learn from sparring them. Ugh, too much green, Ino muttered with a shudder. Tenten is pretty cool though. It was Naruto's turn to shudder, a fact not missed by Ino. What's the matter, Naruto? Does Tenten scare you? She teased. You have no idea, Naruto replied flatly. Do you have any idea how many times she's almost blown me up? I might, Ino said with a grin. Every time us girls get together, all she can talk about is how much she just loves your explosive tags. There's a reason Bachan won't let me sell her anymore, Naruto said with a wince. Not since that time she stored a book of them in one of her seals and activated all of them at the same time accidentally. Bachan wasn't pleased at the new crater in Training Ground 15, and I was not happy she made me fix it without using any clones. Damn old hag. Ino laughed at the disgruntled look on Naruto's face, the sound ringing out pleasantly over the pond. Getting her mirth under control, she propped one hand under her chin and studied Naruto, her eyes still sparkling a bit with laughter. "You know, I actually want to thank you," she said shyly. "I know how busy you are, but as hard as the last 2 months have been, I think our whole team learned a lot. I knew I'd have to step up my training after I tied with forehead in the last exams, but Asuma-sensei didn't ever really push us." "I'm really not sure what to think about the Jonin-sensei," Naruto admitted a bit bitterly. "The only one I know that actually pushes their team is Guy-sensei, and he's nuts." "I know of another," Ino said with a grin. "There's this old classmate of mine, got stuck with the team right. He's stern and strict with the training, and there are times we hate his guts, until we see how far we've advanced. So then we think about the good things like his willingness to always help and explain things. Sometimes even stuff he doesn't have any clue about." She paused with a smug look when Naruto bristled defensively. "It was one time," he protested. "One time? Are you ever going to let that go? Since it caused Sakura to land you in the hospital, not likely. Now hush, I was talking," Ino said with a snicker. "I had my doubts when Asuma-sensei said that you would be taking over our team temporarily, but I was wrong, Naruto. You've done a fantastic job, I'm just worried about the exams, I think." "Did you just resolve your doubts on your own?" Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow and an amused expression. "Huh, I guess I did," Ino mused, getting to her feet. "Part of it was you though, I feel more confident when I talk with you." Before she stopped to think about it, she closed the distance between them and planted a kiss on his cheek. "So, thanks again, Naruto-sensei," she said cheekily. "Sure, anytime, Ino-chan," Naruto replied with a grin of his own. "Still, you might want to look behind you." Ino flinched and slowly turned around, revealing Temari standing there with her hands on her hips. Ino flashed her a weak grin. "Hi Temari, I was just talking to Naruto about teams and was just leaving. Yep, just leaving." Temari raised her hand and crooked her finger at Ino, ordering her to come to her. Ino's shoulders slumped and she moved towards Temari with the aura of a condemned prisoner. "Ino," Temari said quietly once the other girl was standing in front of her. "I'd like to think I'm a tolerant woman. Do you think I'm a tolerant woman?" "Yes," Ino said, nodding her head vigorously. "Very kind and tolerant. In fact, you are a fount of tolerance, I kid you not." "Ino, shut up," Temari said flatly, massaging her temple wearily. "I'm not actually all that irritated at you kissing his cheek, and you know I've allowed you to hug him, but you've been getting a little handsy lately." "I know, I'm sorry," Ino said dejectedly. "It's just that the more I work with him, the more magnetic his personality is. I really love him, Temari, and I just keep falling more and more for him, but I don't want to interfere with the two of you, and it's just really hard." Temari shot a glance up to where Naruto was pointedly ignoring their conversation before glancing back at Ino. "Walk with me, Ino," she suggested, turning around and heading back into the garden. With a last longing glance at Naruto, Ino followed after, her curiosity aroused by Temari's desire to talk away from Naruto. Given how much effort he put into ignoring serious conversations between the girls in his life, Ino really wondered about why Temari didn't want him to overhear at all. "I know what it's like to fall head over heels with him," Temari said once Ino caught up to her. "As much as he annoys me sometimes, I truly love my husband, but I'm a bit concerned." "About what?" Ino asked, bewildered. "When I first told him I loved him, I told him he didn't have to respond," Temari said slowly. "I know that with his childhood, it wasn't something he would really get, but it's been 2 months, and he still hasn't responded. Now I'm all fat and bloated, and he has pretty girls like you obviously interested, and it's just so damn frustrating." Ino said, several things becoming clear to her. "You know, I think you're overthinking this, Temari." "That's easy for you to say," Temari shot back in a near hiss. "You don't look like this," she finished, waving a hand at herself. "Alright, enough with the self-pity," Ino replied tartly. "So he hasn't told you he loves you, big fucking deal. He showers you with attention and affection. It doesn't matter what he's doing, if you want him, you get the real him and not a clone like the rest of us. Every damn woman in the village dreams that their boyfriend, husband, partner, or whatever would show them half the attention Naruto gives you." "It's true," Yugao spoke up from a nearby bench, startling both girls. Yugao gave them a cheerful smile and went back to examining the blade of her sword. "Most of the women in the village are just a bit jealous, Temari-sama. Hayate-kun was an excellent boyfriend and I miss him dearly, but even he didn't cater to my needs like Naruto does for you." "Then why can't he just spit it out?" Temari asked in exasperation. Yugao tilted her head at Temari, curiously. Why are you asking questions? You already have the answer for Temari-sama. Temari ignored the muffled snickering from Ino to glare at her constant shadow. Yes, I know, his childhood left him with issues, he doesn't really understand love, I know, but would it be so bad for him to just say it? If you believe you would enjoy empty words, Reynard said, poking his head out of the bushes and joining the conversation. When did this turn into a damn convention? Temari groused before turning her attention to Reynard. I take it you have your own input to this private conversation, Reynard? Indeed, Temari-sama, the fox replied seriously. Naruto-sama was damaged by the events of the past far more than he would ever admit. I have been inside his mind, and there are dangerous things there beyond Kyubi-sama. Things born of the darkness in human hearts. Ino and Yugao stared at Reynard in confusion, but Temari had an expression of grim understanding. He repressed the emotions, didn't he? She said unhappily. That's how he avoided ending up like Gaara, but I assume from what you're saying, they are still festering? I am unsure, Reynard admitted. I merely caught a glimpse when I was in Naruto-sama's mind, but I would assume the cure for hate is love. Wait, what? Ino butted in. I was in his head too, and I never saw anything like that. One would assume that you may have been focused on Kyubi-sama, Ino-san, Reynard replied calmly, causing Ino to shudder at the memory. As much as I do appreciate the insight, should you be speaking of your liege like this? Temari asked, hinting what she meant by flicking her eyes towards Ino. I don't see why not, Reynard replied slyly. Everyone here is involved. A vassal, he pointed his snout at Yugao. A mate, indicating Temari. A potential mate, indicating Ino, causing Temari to glare as the blonde gave her a sheepish grin. And the man in the tree is more concerned than he chooses to appear. Man in the tree? Temari repeated, glancing around like the other kunoichi before Yugao uttered a muffled curse and pointed out Kakashi sitting in a nearby tree. Damn it, Kakashi-senpai, Yugao called out at the man. You could have told us you were here. But I hear so many interesting things when I don't, Kakashi retorted without looking up from his book. He seemed like he was about to say something else before his head snapped up and he ducked around the side of the tree in a hurry. Temari was given only a second or two to boggle at the disappeared Jonin before Guy popped up in front of her with a blindingly white smile. Good afternoon to you, may I inquire as to the whereabouts of your most youthful husband? He boomed out, politely giving Temari a thumbs up. Temari muttered under her breath about random people showing up in her yard before giving the man a polite smile while kicking Ino when she hid from Guy behind her. Certainly, Guy-san, he was just down on the dock by the pond. May I inquire as to why you need him? Certainly. I wish to test my team's flames of youth against his team. I understand that they are becoming most youthful. Temari tried hard not to laugh, made harder by the sound of Ino whimpering behind her. A sudden thought struck her, and she looked around curiously. Guy-san, I can't help but notice that you're missing Lee today. Naruto didn't challenge him to hide and seek in the forest with his clones again, did he? No, Guy replied cheerfully. Lee Kuen is composing a most youthful love song for his beloved Cherry Blossom. His pride in his student blinded him to the horrified looks Temari and Yugao shot him, or the fact Ino was laughing so hard she was crying. Guy-san, Temari managed to grind out, somehow still polite. Please remind Lee that he is not allowed to serenade Pinky when I am trying to sleep. Please remind him that the next time he does so. Not only will I blast him away with my fan after summoning Gamabunta to sit on him, but I'll also allow Yugao to do whatever she wants to him, and I'm pretty sure it involves her sword and his vocal cords. Air, right, Guy said, sweat dropping at the killer intent from the two aggravated women. I shall certainly pass that along to my student, now I must bid you farewell. With a deep polite bow, Guy made his way towards the pond and Temari held up her hand, ticking her fingers down. Her timing was very accurate as the moment she dropped her last finger, a loud startled yell was heard from Naruto. Seriously, don't do that. Oh, youthful student of my hip and cool rival, I challenge you and your team. Let us strengthen our students' flames of youth with honorable combat. Whatever Naruto replied was unheard but apparently pleased Guy. Excellent, I am pleased the flames of youth burn brightly within you. Gah. Stop trying to hug me. A orange and black blur zipped by the kunoichi, followed closely by a larger green one. Yash, what an excellent idea, shall we race? The orange blur came to a stop, revealing Naruto with a sickly horrified expression on his face as he looked around for some sort of escape. Spotting Kakashi still hiding behind the trunk of his tree, a truly evil smile appeared on his face. I'm sorry, Guy-sensei, but I would hate to take my sensei's place as your rival. He ignored the frantic gestures from Kakashi as Guy slowed and regarded him curiously. After all, I'm Lee's eternal rival, not yours. I would not wish to steal my pupil's rival, Guy conceded, looking somewhat sad. If only my eternal rival was here so that I could challenge him. Well, what do you know, Naruto said, pointing at a glaring Kakashi with an evil grin. There he is now. Why thank you, Naruto-kun, Guy said happily when he spotted a paling Kakashi. I'll be sure to let your rival know that he should challenge you once he is done composing his new ballad for the fair Sakura-san. Wait, another one? Naruto asked, making a face before the rest of the message sank in. No, you really don't have to do that, he said hastily. Nonsense, Guy boomed, clapping Naruto on the shoulder almost hard enough to knock him into the ground. Rivals keep our youthful flames burning strong, Naruto-kun. He dropped his voice to a much quieter level for Naruto only. You still need practice against strong taijutsu practitioners, Naruto-kun, and Lee-kun needs experience against strong ninjutsu users. After you've advanced your taijutsu against Lee, I can teach you the more advanced Uzumaki forms. Naruto blinked at the sudden change in demeanor and tone from Guy, reminded once again that no matter how bizarre the man acted, he was an elite jonin with the skills to match. Guy-sensei, how do you know Uzumaki forms? Naruto asked, taking advantage of Guy's calmer state. Your mother, Guy replied with a grin. She knew of my love of taijutsu, and it amused her to share with me. Now if you'll excuse me, it seems my rival is attempting to escape. And just like that, the normal Guy returned as he chased off after Kakashi, leaving a bemused Naruto behind. Walking over to where Temari, Ino, Reynard, and Yugao were watching him curiously, Naruto grinned at them. So, did you guys catch the part about Lee writing another ballad for Sakura-chan? He shuddered at the memory of the last time. I wasn't that bad, was I? Writing and singing songs, no, Ino said, rolling her eyes. The rest of it, yeah, pretty much, but you got better. So, did I hear that right? You agreed that my team would spar with his? Yeah, Naruto replied, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. You know, Guy-sensei, no way to avoid it really, but I didn't agree to a time, so if we're lucky, I can stall him until after the exams. Oh, thank Kami, Ino breathed, slumping bonelessly onto one of the garden benches. So many fashion laws being violated by that team. Still overly concerned with fashion, flower girl, Temari snorted, moving over to snuggle with her husband a little, mindful of Reynard's comment about love being the best cure for hate. And here I was almost beginning to respect you as a kunoichi. Hey. Ino blurted. I've been taking my training seriously, but fashion is important, fangirl. Without fashion, we might as well be boys. Oh, Temari-sama does like fashion, Yugao commented with a smirk. Ask me about the time she spent 2 hours in the lingerie shop. Hey, not in front of him, Temari hissed, turning a brilliant shade of red when Naruto quirked an eyebrow at her. Leaning in, she whispered something in his ear that caused a dazed look and goofy grin to appear on his face. Oh, Ino wants to know, Ino said childishly, mildly jealous at how easily Temari distracted Naruto. But perhaps another time, she amended when Temari glared at her. That may be best, Yugao said, still smirking. Perhaps at the next kunoichi poker night? This time it was her turn to get a glare from Temari. You know what, if you guys are going to be like that, I'm just gonna take my toys and go home, Temari said, starting to drag Naruto off towards the house, breaking him out of his stupor. Hey, I'm not a toy, he protested. I suppose an exchange is in order, Temari said with a sparkle in her eyes. If you give me a massage before dinner, I'll be so very grateful. Watching the goofy look return to his face, Ino turned to Yugao and rolled her eyes as the couple wandered off. And she worries that he'll be interested in other girls because she's pregnant. Did you see how fast she wrapped him around her finger? It goes both ways, Yugao said with a shrug. Temari-sama wasn't joking at all when she said she was madly in love with him. She was nearly impossible to deal with when he took your team out for that weekend survival trip. She was extremely jealous you and Sakura were with him, not that she'd admit it, and mornings where she doesn't get to cuddle with him are rough. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Ino asked with some concern. It'll even out, Yugao reassured the younger kunoichi. You have to make some allowances for the pregnancy mood swings and that they've been married less than a year, with Naruto out of the village for a bit over 2 months of that time. It doesn't help what with all the women petitioning her to be allowed to be his second wife. Yugao made a point to stare directly at Ino for the last comment. Hey, don't look at me like that, I don't pester her about it and I try to avoid crossing any lines, but yeah, as you know I really want them. To join them I mean, she said, blushing a bit at her slip. I believe that you are probably the most compatible with them, Reynard commented from where he was laying with his head on his paws. I believe that Temari-sama will accept you once she becomes more secure in her relationship, but for now you'll simply have to be patient. Yes, I know that, Ino replied. But it's hard, especially since I see the seal he put on me to block off the Kyuubi's chakra as a promise of sorts, marking his territory. Oh, now that's interesting, Yugao said with a raised eyebrow. I didn't take you for the bottom, but you're just full of surprises, aren't you? And that's my cue to leave, Reynard said, getting to his feet. As little as I care about human sexuality, I do prefer not to listen to it. It's not a bad thing, Ino protested after the fox left. And I have no idea what I like, it's not like I have experience, Yuga-san. It's just the thought of him marking me as his is a little exciting. Oh, I certainly wasn't judging, Yuga replied. There were times it was fun to play like that with Hayate, but I think it's the trust between partners that makes it enjoyable. If you have that trust, you can relax and be whatever the hell you want to be with them and it won't matter worth a damn elsewhere. Yeah, Ino said with a bright blush. As much as I appreciate the support and advice, can we spar? My sensei just got dragged off by his wife and I have no clue where my teammates are. That's 'cause today was supposed to be your day off, but don't worry, I'd be glad to help you, Yugao said, standing up with a very toothy grin. Just so you know, I like to train with Anko. Aw crap, Ino exclaimed, realizing what she'd just done. I don't suppose we could talk fashion, flowers, or boys instead? Nope, Yugao replied, taking a test swing with her katana. Now, I'd start running if I were you. Naruto hummed to himself as he worked in the kitchen. He usually had his clones do most of the cooking, but there were certain things he preferred to do himself. Like the chocolate cake, he was in the process of frosting while protecting it from Temari with his body. Which might not be healthy for him if she decided she was sick of waiting for the cake to be done, he mused as he put the finishing touches on it. Done, he carefully lifted the platter holding the cake and presented it to the great devouring beast, or his beloved wife. Cutting out a big piece for her, he got a kick out of watching her eyes roll back in her head as she moaned in pleasure when she took her first bite. You would think I hadn't just made you one of those a few days ago, he teased his wife gently. Pregnant, Temari mumbled around between bites with a mock glare at Naruto. Can't help it. I seem to remember someone having a bit of a sweet tooth before, Naruto retorted, being careful to stay out of stabbing range. Sometimes, Temari admitted, eyeing the distance between her husband and her cake warily. You're getting awfully close to my cake, husband. You mean the cake I made? Naruto asked innocently, shifting forward a little to subtly threaten the cake. Mine now. Temari declared, sliding the tray away from Naruto. Hey Naruto, can I ask you something? Some of Naruto's grin slipped from his face as he registered the serious tone. Sure Temari-chan, you can ask me anything. Well, Temari said, not sure how to ask, before deciding to just be direct. Do you ever think about your childhood? Like how you felt at being treated the way you were? Not usually, Naruto replied, perplexed at the question. It's all in the past, even if there are those that still hate me. I have precious people and the number keeps growing, so who cares about them? I see, Temari replied, biting her lip as she thought. Reynard said that there was darkness in you, a darkness born of human hatred, not the Kyuubi. Reynard said, huh? So what do you think? Naruto asked. Me? I think that you probably never dealt with your feelings from back then, but I don't really know what Reynard means by what he said. Should probably talk to the fox and find out, Naruto muttered to himself as he racked his brain for the meaning behind the words. Yeah, I'll go have a chat with him about it sometime soon, I guess, Naruto said louder for Temari. Temari eyed the remainder of the cake wistfully and set her plate down with a sigh. Pulling herself to her feet, she slowly made her way around the table to grab Naruto's arm and drag him after her to the living room. Sitting him on the couch, she sat down next to him and tucked her feet up under herself before leaning against him to use him as a pillow. If you want to, she said, wiggling a little to find a comfortable spot while he wrapped his arm around her shoulders. Doesn't really matter to me, I'm stuck with you no matter what. You make it sound like a chore, Naruto said with a chuckle, running his hand along the bare skin of her arm gently. It can be, Temari retorted, shifting a bit to give him a better angle for his hand. Doesn't matter though, love you forever, Baka husband. Love you too, Temari-chan, Naruto whispered, leaning over to kiss the top of her head affectionately. Temari relaxed against him completely at the words she'd been longing to hear, drifting off to sleep under the soothing motions of Naruto's hand with a contented smile on her face. Sakura sat motionless in the middle of the training field, her face showing determination and exhaustion in almost equal measure. Her eyes popped open and fixed on the target dummy sitting nearby, and carefully flexing her chakra, she created a chain she looped around the target. Dispelling the chain, she tiredly pulled herself to her feet and crossed over to the target dummy. A small but victorious grin appeared on her face as she noted the lack of damage to the dummy. After inadvertently sending Naruto to the hospital, she'd been practicing to near chakra exhaustion on controlling the strength of her chains, and this was the 5th time she'd managed to ensnare a target without harming it. Her work was far from done, she could only produce 2 chains at a time and they drained her limited chakra pool quickly, but this was still measurable progress. Satisfied with her work for the day, she turned and began heading home, stopping to blink in surprise at what she thought was Kakashi being caused by Guy, before shaking her head and continuing on her way. Reaching the grounds and heading towards the house, she heard a shrill scream she recognized as Ino's. Curious about it, changed course from the house to the training ground. She couldn't help but chuckle when she saw Ino frantically trying to escape Yugao and her sword, several gashes already carved into her clothes. Flashing Ino a toothy smile, Sakura sat down on the ground near the edge of the field and pulled out a storage scroll she'd made with Naruto's instruction. Pulling out some of her favorite Enko dumplings, she settled back to enjoy dinner and a show. That was some very impressive dodging there, pig, Sakura commented cheerfully after watching Ino desperately try to avoid being hit for almost an hour. You even managed to keep her from cutting off more than half of your clothes. Stuff it, forehead, Ino panted, trying to slow down her breathing and heart rate. It's nowhere as easy as I make it look, you know. I'd almost feel sorry for you if I wasn't massively holding back, Yugao interjected tartly while balancing her katana on the tip of her finger to amuse herself. Naruto-sama might be pushing you to increase your skills, but make no mistake, you still need a great deal of work, Yamanaka-san. I know that, Ino huffed indignantly. Why do you think I stuck around and let you chase me with that thing? She froze at the glint in Yugao's eye and moderated her tone as she continued. I'm grateful for the extra training, Yugao-senpai, but you have to admit, it's a little extreme. Not really, Sakura scoffed, rejoining the conversation. First, she was only aiming for your clothes, not your body. Second, you wouldn't believe the hell Naruto put me through on the days off from team training. She paused to shudder at the memory, getting a smirk from Yugao. Now that was fun to watch, the swordswoman said fondly. One moment, Sakura's alone, the next she's surrounded by a platoon of teleporting shadow clones and told to run. Sakura flushed red and raised her fist threateningly. I think that's enough unless you want her to hear about the time you ate the last piece of one of Temari's cakes, she growled. Right, moving on, Yugao said hurriedly. You're improving rapidly, Ino, but sometimes you forget that as a kunoichi, speed, flexibility, and deception is crucial. For the most part, we leave the brute power to the boys, with a few notable exceptions. The glance she shot Sakura was not missed by either girl, and Sakura raised her hand, forming the tips of 2 chains with a sickly sweet smile. Allow me to demonstrate, she said darkly, launching the chains at the snickering, retreating figures of her friends. Let's see you use that speed and flexibility now, Shinaro. Her chains wrapped around the 2 and a puff of smoke marked the 2 kunoichi using kawarimi, leaving Sakura disgustedly holding 2 logs. See Ino, Yugao pointed out from the nearby tree branch she'd retreated to as Sakura used her chains to crush the substituted logs with ease. That probably would have hurt if we hadn't used speed and deception to get clear. She eyed the way Sakura's chains were snaking towards her and snagging Ino. Used a quick shunshin to get a bit more distance from the annoyed medic. Her blade flicked out and deflected a chain headed for her as Sakura released her bunshin and genjutsu, revealing her location within striking distance of Ino and Yugao. See, I can do deception as well, Sakura purred in satisfaction as Ino scrambled to avoid the chain Yugao didn't deflect. I live and train with perhaps the most unpredictable ninja in the entire village after all. Yeah, well I can do power too, Ino snarled, creating several shadow clones that darted and passed the chain towards Sakura. Using a combination of the hair trap she'd used against Sakura during the Chunin exam and what she'd worked out using Naruto's memory of Jiraiya extending his hair, the Ino clones whipped their ponytails forward, creating long yellow ropes intended to snare Sakura. Judging the distance, Sakura slammed her fist into the ground, creating a dust cloud obscuring Ino's sight. Sensing a presence behind her, Sakura quickly used a sunshin, narrowly dodging Yugao's blade. Lurking in her new hiding spot, she watched the Ino clones fan out searching for her but was forced to move when the real Ino came charging up the tree she was hiding in. Hitting the ground, she flung several kunai behind her to distract Ino and using one of her chains to destroy an Ino clone, used the other to whip herself up into another tree. Hitting the branch, she immediately darted several trees over to avoid having Yugao pop up behind her. I'm impressed, girls, the former ANBU called from where she was lurking. You're both moving and fighting at Chunin levels, but we have company. Wary of a trap, Sakura took a quick look around and spotted Kuratsuchi headed towards the house from the gate. Dropping down from her branch, she made her way over to meet Kuratsuchi, Yugao, and Ino staying in the trees above to provide support if needed. Good afternoon, Kuratsuchi, Sakura said politely, her disdain for the other woman only barely showing in her voice. How can the Uzumaki clan help you? Kuratsuchi looked up distractedly, blinking a bit when she realized she was being addressed. I need to speak to Naruto, she said briskly. It's very important. I'm not sure he is available, Sakura replied unhelpfully. Perhaps I can take him a message? No, you tree-hugging bitch. Kuratsuchi snapped, before regaining control of herself. No, this is a very important matter that only he can deal with. She gritted her teeth and continued. If you would please see if he is available, I would greatly appreciate it. This is truly important. Tossing a glance over her shoulder at Yugao and getting a shrug, Sakura considered what to do. She really didn't like Kuratsuchi, and sending her packing was appealing, but the woman was the granddaughter of the Tsukage, and she was stating it was important. In the end, the possible ramifications for the clan if she did deny Kuratsuchi and it was important made her grudgingly decide to pass the request on to Naruto. Very well, if you would remain here, I will go see if my clan head is available, she said professionally. Leaving Ino and Yugao to keep an eye on their guest, Sakura headed up to the house and quietly slipped inside. Making her way to the living room, she witnessed Naruto finally telling Temari he loved her, and she ducked around the corner and slapped a hand over her mouth to stifle a happy giggle. She was truly happy that Temari finally got what she wanted, and the scene was just too cute for words. Shamelessly spying on them for a few moments as Naruto lulled Temari to sleep by rubbing her back, Sakura cleared her throat to get Naruto's attention after the pregnant woman drifted off. Looking up at the noise, Naruto cocked his head questioningly. Reading the hand sign Sakura flashed him, he sighed and eased himself from under Temari, tucking the blanket from the back of the couch over her to keep her warm. What? He asked in annoyance after he left the living room and Sakura didn't speak, just smiled at him. Nothing, she said innocently. That was just a very cute scene, Naruto. It was supposed to be private, he groused in response. So, you indicated it was important, what's going on? We have a visitor, the rock bitch. She says it's urgent she speaks to you. I don't suppose she said why? Naruto asked, palming his forehead. No, she didn't, or you would have said so, he finished before Sakura could retort. Fine, I'll go talk to her. I take it Yuga-chan is keeping an eye on her now? Yugao and Ino actually, Sakura said with a smirk. Ino-chan? Why is she here? Taking a closer look at the light damage to Sakura's outfit, Naruto shook his head. Get into another little dust-up with Ino-chan, did you, Sakura-chan? It was training, Sakura said defensively, falling into step behind Naruto as he made his way to the door. I seem to recall you having a training rival, though I would prefer not to talk about that. Understandable, Naruto agreed, exiting the house and spotting Kuratsuchi. Just keep the damage down, I guess. The clones have bitched about all the repair work they've had to do recently. Naruto, Sakura said with a fair amount of irritation. First, the clones are you, and second, most of the damage is also done by you. True, but you and Ino-chan have started making sizable messes of your own, Naruto teased her. Especially you, and those punches you've learned from Bachan. Remind me again who made a crater big enough it became a second pond again? Sakura snarked back. I seem to recall the explosion attracting the attention of the ANBU alert platoon. Yeah, oops, Naruto said sheepishly, rubbing the back of his head. Not sure who was more pissed about that, Temari-chan or Bachan. Oh, Temari for sure, Sakura said with a giggle. You want me to stick around for this? Taking a look to where Kuratsuchi was impatiently waiting, Naruto sucked a breath in through his teeth. No, he said after giving it a moment of thought. You two don't get along very well, and she already looks a bit worked up. Ino-chan and Yuga-chan are already lurking, so if you would go make sure Temari-chan doesn't roll off the couch, I'd appreciate it. Sure, Sakura replied, agreeably turning to head to the house. Have fun with the rock bitch, she called over her shoulder loud enough for Kuratsuchi to hear. Thanks for that, Naruto muttered, palming his face as Sakura damn near skipped back to the house. Glancing up, he sighed and finished making his way over to where Kuratsuchi was barely restraining her temper, her glare shooting daggers at Sakura's back. "So, what can I do for you today, Kura-chan?" Naruto asked, forcing a cheerful expression. Taking a deep breath, Kuratsuchi forced herself to calm down, but small signs of her lingering anger showed in her posture and her clenched fists. "I have information," she said briskly. "Information that Konoha, and the Uzumaki clan in particular, will find very important." Okay?" Naruto asked cautiously. "What information?" "All information has a price," Kuratsuchi said, her eyes locked onto Naruto. "Especially information like this." "But how am I supposed to know if the information is worth the price if I don't know either?" Naruto asked in apparent confusion. Up in the trees, Ino palmed her face, and Yugao pulled out a small notebook listing things she needed to train Naruto on. Flipping past the first 10 pages, she found an open spot and marked in negotiations. "Very well," Kuratsuchi said stiffly. "I have information regarding a clear threat to the Uzumaki clan, especially the expansion of the clan." "I'm not stupid," Naruto replied, his cheerful facade slipping away to be replaced with the steel lurking underneath. "If you do have that sort of information, it means that you are involved. Probably something planned since before you arrived in Konoha. That being said, is there something you would like to tell me?" Taken aback by the sweet smile on his face clashing horribly with the ice in his eyes, Kuratsuchi raised her hands defensively. "It's not like that," she stammered. "Well, maybe a little," she conceded as his eyes bored into her. "I don't want any part of it anymore, but I'm a kunoichi. The only way out from me is if I place myself under a different authority." "So defect to Konoha," Naruto replied reasonably. "Sure, so Hunter Nin would be after me every time I poked my nose out of the village," she scoffed. "I was thinking something more along the lines of what happened to Temari. Marrying into a clan automatically transfers village citizenship, without the taint of betrayal. I'm a strong kunoichi with a powerful bloodline and I'm the granddaughter of Itsukage. Wouldn't that be beneficial to a man looking to rebuild his clans?" she asked hopefully. "No," Naruto replied flatly. "What? Why?" Kuratsuchi asked in shock. "I'm strong, I'm smart, I'm pretty, and I have connections you would find useful. Why would you deny me?" "Because I can't trust you," Naruto replied with brutal honesty. "You came to offer a warning, but only if I accepted your price, one my wife would find unacceptable, and you know that. That leaves me wondering exactly why you're here, Kuratsuchi-san. I can't help but feel that you are trying to play me somehow, and I've learned to listen to those sorts of feelings." "But I'm not trying to play you," Kuratsuchi replied desperately. She dropped to her knees and pleaded with him. "I want out. I want out of this sham engagement with the Uchiha. I want out of the manipulations of my grandfather. I want to be free to live my life and I want you." "I'm sorry, what?" Naruto asked in disbelief. "You're the only one nice to me here," Kuratsuchi said dully. "You, the son of the Yondaime Hokage, are the only person in Konoha that treats me as something other than the granddaughter of the Itsukage. The only one in my entire life to do that. You're handsome, powerful, kind, and my only possible escape from the hell that my life has become." "I'm sorry, Kuratsuchi-chan," Naruto said gently. "You're looking in the wrong place for an escape. If you really want a way out, you'll have to find it on your own." "So that's your answer?" Kuratsuchi asked, getting to her feet, refusing to meet Naruto's gaze. "I suppose I shouldn't be surprised, but I thought you'd be smarter than this." She turned her head towards him with deadened eyes. "You will regret this, Namikaze-san. Good night." Watching her stalk off, Naruto shook his head and sighed. There was no way he could accept her request, but he had the sinking sensation he'd just made a mistake in the way he'd handled her. That last threat wasn't ominous at all. With a last sigh of frustration, he turned to trudge back to the house with his arms clasped behind his head. Whatever happened, he'd just have to deal with it like he always did, though hopefully with a bit less collateral damage. Up in the trees, Yugao clenched her teeth as she followed the figure of Kuratsuchi out of the compound with cold eyes. Ignoring the gossipy chatter from Ino, she unconsciously ran her fingers over the hilt of her sword. She couldn't fault Naruto's rejection of the offer, but her instincts told her that there would be blood spilled over this. Hopping down from the tree, she hurried to catch up to her young liege. Falling in place slightly behind him and to the side, she spoke her mind. "There will be trouble from this Naruto-sama," she said quietly. "When isn't there?" Naruto muttered, shooting a glance back. I'm not sure if that was a real offer, but even if it wasn't one I could accept. He stopped suddenly and clenched his fists in irritation. When I was younger, I believed that I could be the greatest ninja ever simply by kicking ass. There are times I truly wish that's how it worked, you know. Life certainly would be simpler like that, Yugao commented dryly, the tone hiding her concern at how irritated Naruto seemed. Heh, Kami, how I wish sometimes, Naruto repeated with a sigh before straightening his posture and blanking the weariness from his face, grim determination setting in. Sadly, we have to do the best that we can in the world as it is, Naruto stated, fixing his eyes on Yugao. So, regardless of the validity of her offer, do you believe the rest? About a threat against the Temari-sama and the children? Yugao asked in confirmation. Yes, Naruto said shortly. Undoubtedly, Yugao said grimly. Just your heritage would draw attention. Add in Temari-sama's, and the temptation is there for any shinobi village, let alone IWA, and its hatred of both Konoha and Suna. I'd be far more surprised if there weren't any plots against us. Yeah, that's what I thought, Naruto said tiredly. She's not going to like it, but I want you with Temari-chan at all times, Yugao. If you feel the need, you have permission to hire Konoha shinobi that you trust to assist you. Understood, Yugao said softly. Would you prefer the extra security to be overt or covert? Covert, of course, Naruto said with a lopsided grin after giving it a moment of thought. She's already going to be pissed, no need to set her off more than needed. You assume that she won't notice, Yugao said, rolling her eyes. Hey, one can always hope, Naruto said defensively, biting back a chuckle. Besides, there is a reason I'm delegating to you other than your abilities as XA and BU. If she does notice, you can try to explain it to her. How wonderful, Yugao sighed, rolling her eyes and looking less than thrilled at the prospect. Oh, and Yugao. Naruto said, all mirth gone from his face and tone. If Kuratsuchi crosses the line into becoming an actual threat, you will eliminate her and to hell with any consequences to Clan Uzumaki. Yes, Naruto-sama, Yugao replied, bracing into an unconscious salute at the command in Naruto's voice. A soft gasp behind them caused both to snap their heads around to see Ino standing there, staring at them with her hand covering her mouth. Damn it, Ino-chan, Naruto snarled in annoyance. Do you have to stick your nose into everything you shouldn't? I just wanted to know what was going on, Ino said defensively, moving closer to the pair. Which was my point, Naruto said, massaging his temples. You shouldn't have listened in, and we should have paid more attention, and you should have as well. What? Ino asked in confusion before stiffening in alarm at a series of angry growls behind her. Slowly and carefully turning her head to look over her shoulder, she gulped when she saw the small squad of foxes closing in on her. Naruto, what are you doing? Ino asked, her voice trembling a bit despite her attempts to keep it even. Ino-chan, I like you, and you're good friends with Temari, but you're interfering with clan business. Naruto said sternly. I didn't mean to, Ino pleaded, frightened by the direct look Naruto was giving her. Relax, Ino-chan, Naruto said, motioning the foxes to leave. I'm aware of that, but the fact remains that you heard things better left alone. So what I want from you is your absolute vow that you will not speak of this to anyone, ever. If you can't do that, then I will have no choice but to ban you from Uzumaki grounds and inform your father that the relationship between our clans will remain neutral until such time as reparations are made for spying. Ino shot a glance at Yugao for support but got nothing but a stony glare. Sighing in defeat, Ino bowed her head to hide the slight trickle of tears at being treated so coldly by both the man she loved and a woman she considered to be a friend. I, Yamanaka Ino, do swear that I will never speak of the events of tonight with anyone not present. She raised her head defiantly. There, does that satisfy you? She spat. Naruto crossed to her and met her glare evenly as he searched her eyes for signs of deceit. Finding nothing but hurt and anger, Naruto cupped her chin in his hand gently. Yes, and I'm sorry that this had to happen, Ino, but I will not, cannot, take chances with the safety of my family. But I'm not a threat, Ino said softly, her spark of defiance gone. We're supposed to be friends. I am your friend, Naruto said sadly. But what did I say about how the world is? That we do the best we can with how it is, Ino replied slowly, considering the words carefully. Exactly, and also showing how long you were listening in, Naruto said dryly. I know that you would never willfully betray us, but you love to gossip, Ino, and sometimes your mouth moves before your brain does. I needed to make sure that you understood the seriousness of this, and I am sorry. I think I understand, Ino said, shaking her head slightly in bewilderment at both the explanation and the apology. If it's okay, I think I need to go home now. I'm really tired. Okay, Ino-chan, Naruto said, forcing a smile. We'll see you later, okay? Yeah, later, Ino mumbled, turning and stumbling off. Naruto and Yugao watched her go in silence, and after she was out of sight, Naruto sighed heavily. Well, that sucked, he said bluntly. Yeah, poor kid, Yugao said absently. What's that supposed to mean? Naruto said crossly with a glare. No, I meant her, not you, Naruto-sama, Yugao said with a ghost of a smile. Again, what's that supposed to mean? Naruto responded in annoyance. Nothing, Naruto-sama, Yugao replied with a sneaky grin. Just girl stuff, you wouldn't be interested. Fine, be that way, Naruto said, giving it up as a lost cause. Still, I feel kinda bad about scaring her like that. She needed it, Yugao replied. Sort of a curse for Yamanaka clan members. They tend to be really nosy until someone points out that it's a good way to get killed. Some never do learn that lesson. If you say so, Naruto said with a shrug. I think I pretty much had it with tonight, what about you? I have some arrangements to make, Naruto-sama, Yugao said with an evil smirk. Need to see if Anko is available for bodyguard duty. Her and Temari seem to get along well. I officially hate you right now, Naruto muttered. Of course you do, Naruto-sama, Yugao laughed cheerfully. Good night. Yeah, good night, Yugao, Naruto muttered before turning and finishing his trip towards the house as he continued to mutter under his breath about Anko. Once the two were gone, Sakura stepped out from behind the hedge, uncertain about what to do. While she agreed that Naruto couldn't take chances with the family's safety, she was worried about how Ino was going to handle the encounter. The problem was that she couldn't talk to Ino about it without admitting that she'd been listening in as well. In her case, it wasn't such a big deal because she was in fact part of Clan Uzumaki, but she doubted that Naruto would be all that amused by it either. Ino needed a friend now though, and if that meant admitting that she'd been there, well, she'd cross that bridge when she got to it. After Sakura hurried off towards the Yamanaka compound, a slight popping sound came from where she'd been as a Kage Bunshin of Naruto transformed from a pebble and shook its head. He truly doubted the boss was going to be amused with this, but it wasn't going to be his problem, and he hoped the boss also enjoyed the experience of being a rock for several days. Grimly chuckling at passing that memory along, the clone dispelled himself. This was all for now. Thank you for watching, I hope you liked it and that you will be back for more. Please like, share and subscribe. See ya.